I want you to take a second and come up with a picture of success in your mind. Who comes to your mind? Steve Jobs, Beyonce, Denzel Washington, Michael Jordan. There's so many people that we could choose from on this. There's so many talented people out there. There's so many people that are at the top of their game throughout history, and none of them are wrong. But I'm going to guess that your brain is tricking you a little bit on this. I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro. I'm a developmental function neurologist, and we focus on brain function in our office. We work to integrate and improve the functionality of the brain so that when you go to do whatever task, you have the abilities to do that. You can switch to whatever gears you need for the outcome that is desired. So focusing back here, let's look at somebody like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is somebody who's credited with all the Bull success of the 90s, right? But if you look back at it, if he didn't have Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr and Dennis Rodman and Kukoc and all those other guys, Phil Jackson is another one that is huge in that. If he didn't have all those guys, what would we have seen out of him? Would he have been the same? Would he have had that same level of success? The answer is no. There's no doubt that without those other people, he wouldn't have the success that he did. And there's examples of this throughout. It doesn't matter where you look. If you were to look at the baseball field, if you were to look at talent alone, the Dodgers and the Yankees would be in the World Series every single year if it were just down to talent. They're not. If you looked at movies, the star-studded casts would be just phenomenal movies every single time. I've turned those off. If you look at business, all of those businesses that are able to just pay ridiculous amounts of money that have all the talent, they would be the successful ones, right? And a lot of times they are for a while, but the time that they stay on top is significantly less now than what it was years ago. I think the last I saw, don't quote me on this, but I believe the last I saw, the average business on the Inc. 500 is there for 8 years now instead of 15 when I started practice and 50 years ago. It keeps getting shorter and shorter. Even though they have that talent, there's disruptive technologies out there that are coming in and giving them the ability to beat that. So if talent doesn't make the difference, what does? It's your ability to integrate a team, to have a team that is able to work together, to have a team that is able to move the ball forward. And that's the biggest thing here. Now, when we look at it, there are two types of talent in the world. There's the IQ, the intelligence, and there's also the EQ. Excuse me. The IQ is more of the intelligence side. It is more left brain dominant. And that's what we see on those that are just massively intelligent. And you can see this in autism. A lot of those kids have superhuman intellects. They're just incredibly smart. EQ is the opposing side of this. That's more of like the relationships, the emotional quotient is what it's called, but it's where the relationships are developed, the ability to see how the interpersonal relationships are going to affect different things, and you also see right brain talent on this. So you'll see athleticism, and you'll see some of these other things that go along. This is where those with autism lag behind. They don't have that ability to have that interpersonal communication, and if we don't have balance, autism is a good example on this, right? Because they have that superhuman intellect, but they can't necessarily share it and develop those relationships with other people to become that giant success. I'm not saying that people with autism cannot be giant successes, because they are. There are a lot of them that are very, very successful. I'm just saying that is the stereotypical example here. So too much of one, not enough of the other, doesn't work in any team, and it doesn't matter. Like I said, we've had so many talented teams that you don't see go to the world championships. We have so many talented businesses that aren't able to get to goal. Now, let's look at a couple of those people that we started out with. Steve Jobs, he was an incredible visionary. Like, he had the ability to see something in the future, and he could make it happen. But he wasn't the one making the phones or the iPod or any of those other things, right? He had a team that was able to do that stuff. If you look at Beyonce, Beyonce is incredibly talented, and you say it's an individual talent. Where would she be without voice coaching and management and all of the choreography and everything else that goes into this, nutrition and health and all these other things? There's so many things that all of these people have a support cast. Denzel Washington, he has a director, he has a producer, he has the support cast, he has all these other things. All of those things lead to these people being talented. And we've been led to believe that It's luck or talent alone that drives our success. And those are important factors, but they're not all. You don't have to be lucky to be successful. You don't have to be incredibly gifted to be successful. That's our brain. Our brain likes to look at things and say, this is the one reason for that. That is the one person that is successful. This is the one person that is successful. But that's not really the way it works. Now, how do we develop this into our own lives? If we are to look at how everything is balanced in our life, and we can look at nature in general. When you look at, the brain, it has to be balanced to do anything. So if you want to move, you've got to fire a little bit more of this. To get it to stop, you have to do this. If you don't have balance between that, you continually move or you don't move at all. When we look at muscles, if we don't have balance, what happens? We fall over. We end up with pain. We end up with degeneration, different things like that. If we're looking at an ecosystem, we have to have balance between predators and prey. If one of those gets out of balance, the ecosystem falls apart. And the same thing happens throughout the body. The same thing happens in all areas of success. We have to have balance. Now, let's look at some examples. If you are the CEO of a business, it's your job to put together the team. You've got to have some people that have incredible intellect, but you also have to have some people that have the ability to develop the relationships to integrate all of that stuff and carry out that that goal. If you're looking at learning, we have to have balance. You can't just learn all about one thing. You can't just learn all about a different thing. You can't just use one area of the brain. If you have one area of the brain that dominates over another, it's very difficult for you to learn certain things. You're very, very good at learning other things. So this is something we see in the educational system, is when we're out of balance, when we have sensory issues or different things like that, it makes it very it makes it very difficult to learn. If we're looking at athletics, not everybody can take the last shot, right? Not everybody playing defense or not everybody playing offense. It makes it harder to win a game. If you're looking at relationships, it can't be all take. There has to be a balance between give and take. Any good relationship has that. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a marriage, a business relationship, or whatever else. There has to be give and take. So life is not just a solo game, and it's not something that requires talent to be successful. It is not something that requires, the just luck, for lack of better terms. There are a lot of things that go into this. Are those things helpful? Yes. Do those things lead to some successes? Absolutely. But we've got to have a balance in our brain if we're going to take ourselves from where we're at to where we want to be. So self-improvement is a must, but we have to be able to develop those relationships and fill in those areas that we need. If we don't have a skill, there are other people out there that do have those skills. So again, I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro. I really appreciate you guys. If you want to find out where you're at on the scale, like, are you more likely to have that intellect? Are you more likely to have relationship skills? What are your skill set? On the bio over there on the side, there is a link for the hemispheric checklist. That hemispheric checklist is just going to give you your balance. It's going to help you figure out exactly where you're at, where your strengths are going to lie, and where your weaknesses are going to be as well. Totally free, no strings attached. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. If you do like this material, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps me figure out exactly what stuff is going to benefit you the most. When I know that, I can get you more of it. So I love you and I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.